How about This is why we need producers. This is why we need producers. Oh my goodness. How's everybody doing? It is Monday, or as we say in the Philadelphia area, Monday. So we're going to pronounce it right. If you're going to be from Philadelphia, you got to pronounce it right. Right? All right. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I think I'm in the mood because the NFL season is starting, and your defending champion Philadelphia Eagles starting off against your how about them Cowboys? And it's interesting because we've had a run on new members from Dallas, and it's really, really hard for me at times to be, to not throw out the Philly thing. Listen, I want to thank all of you. For those of you who are members, thank you so much for supporting this mission. The brief on indie agency news: build the global home for independent agencies. Two operative words: global and home. Our mission is to serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. Yes, we are a media concern, but we got a ton of services underneath this as well, and we're continuing to build some new services, one of which I'm going to share here for you. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Our goal is more visibility for indies, more choice for marketers. So I had mentioned this before. We've vastly improved. We got a lot going on, so we decided to create more of a mission control kind of vibe where you can see what's going on our live shows, because our priority is live and video. We do a lot of written things, including our Indie Spin. It's our almost daily roundup. We keep track of what our members are up to on the daily. We don't want our members to have to do any extra work. You already done enough hard work. We don't want you to have to do a ton more work. Please don't. We got you. We got you. We also don't care where you get visibility as long as you get it. So go to indieagency.news. Look a little closer at the 15-minute member consulting sprints. Let's say you want to be an ad age. And hello to our new neighbors. That's cool. We'll help you work on the pitch. We'll help you if ad age is the goal. Great. We're happy to help you. Awards right now. We are less than a month away from Weirdos, Misfits, and Underdogs. This is the People and Agency Award for the rest of us. And as you can see, we have announced our jury presidents, Shannon, Dooley, Yadira, and Greg. This is going to be fantastic. I'm very, very excited about this. So get your entries in. The deadline is, well, today is the main deadline, $179 per entry. You can prepay for your entries. You can save a lot of money on that one. We want to build some budget certainty. And then final deadline's Friday, September 12th. Members get a 25% discount. Just click that. We'll get you your code. And then we do our live streams. We will be doing those at the end of September. And again, we're really, really stoked for our jury presidents. Now, if you want to be in the jury, the initial jury, scroll on down. Go ahead. Get in there. Another thing that we're continuing to build. You know what? I'm not going to share that one. That's just for members. You know what? That is just for members. I'm not going to talk about that one right now. It's too early. It's too early in the game for that. But we are here to talk about, and this is something that that I've often really, really liked, is this idea of how do you even begin to sell in really aggressive work? Like listen, people are saying the big idea is dead. Wrong. Good ideas still matter. And if it's a big idea, great. If it's not, then, good ideas are good ideas. But I think when we start talking about boldness, we're bringing all four of our people in here. I love a bold idea, and one that we can learn how I like how that got sold. So what we've got here, we got a couple things. Dunkin, freaking Dunkin. I didn't realize that there was a Massachusetts town that did not have a Dunkin. Andrew, what? I mean, seriously, why?
Right? Seriously, especially when there's one on every block.
Right, exactly. It's like out here. There's a Starbucks across from the Starbucks, and then we go to Chicago and Quality Meats. I mean, nail polish enema. Okay, so Amy, what the hell?
I don't know what to say, Doug.
It's so great. No, I know, and I love it. We're gonna get to the gist of this, but here's what I want to start with. Let's go with let's go back to Alan and Gerritsen, and let's go back to the Dunkin thing. So Eva and Andrew, I want to get into the whole, and this has been done before. Like a town being renamed, but this feels different for Dunkin. It feels like, and I think that the part of it that really works really well is just as I was alluding to earlier, is that there was a town in Massachusetts that didn't have a Dunkin, right? So I want us to go back, and who was the first one that said, you know what, let's rename the town? Where did that come from?
So I'll jump in here. I think the wildest part is that there was a town without a Dunkin in New England, and playing into that was actually one of our ideas. But I'm going to rewind a few years really briefly because I think that's really critical to this story and how it got off the ground. So back in fall 2022, this little town, Stowe, Massachusetts, we're talking like population 7,000, about 30 miles west of Boston. They lost their, one of two last Dunkins. People were distraught because this is New England after all. They were distraught. Their nearest Dunkin is like a mile and a half away, God forbid. So WBC News Radio and one of their key reporters, Matt Shearer, brilliant. If you're from New England, you've definitely heard of him. They caught wind of this story. They branded it a, quote, Dunkin Desert. And they came out, interviewed people from town. They were, just devastated by this. And the story went viral. We're talking, all local news, all the way up to today.com, to the Daily Mail in the UK. And so we knew when, fast forward to 2024, Megan and Mark Page, they are two Dunkin franchisees. They were preparing to renovate this building and bring back Dunkin. We knew if we wanted this story to be as unforgettable, as unignorable as the original story, we had to go big. And so it was so much fun. I think that pitch deck was probably one of my favorites that I've ever put together.
Oh, that's funny.
And we shared a whole range of ideas. And, the great thing about Dunkin, it's a super collaborative team. There's lots of different agencies and partners and in-house teams involved. And ultimately, we landed on this idea of, Dunkin has always been synonymous with New England. So let's literally make it synonymous and rename the town and have Cuppy, their official mascot, get a key to the town and just throw a wild party.
I'm in. I will take that. I think that's great. Andrew, anything to add to that? Any extra flavor on that one?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, as you kind of started, saying like, this is an idea that how do you make it uniquely Dunkin'? And how do you make it unique to, frankly, all the audiences involved? And how do you create an idea that's unignorable that actually hits the national stage and the national news as well? So when you create an unignorable idea, how do you get everybody talking about it? And so that was what we set out to do. And Eva and team, highly creative, really kind of thinking about new ways to sort of inspire what is a grand opening of a new location. Like, you just do this different and make it newsworthy.
Well, and I think the hook on this too is like, if this were happening in, say, Rhode Island, I don't know if it would have the same cachet, to be honest. I mean, even though Rhode Island is New England, I think just acutely being Massachusetts, I think that's such a, that felt like, to me, that felt like the difference between this is a really good idea and it's like, it feels like a stunt.
Yeah, I'll say Dunkin' is so masterful at really understanding their audience and understanding culture. And I think that makes all the difference too. And to your point of Massachusetts, because this was such a cultural conversation. I think they were they're just brilliant to work with because they really understand the importance of like leaning into that conversation, controlling the narrative where we should, but also just letting it live in the hands of creators of the community. And that is how a story becomes not just a stunt that somebody can react to, but really feels a part of.
Exactly. All right, Amy, we're going to go to you. So Amy and I are, it's Welsh backgrounds, I guess, Edwards. But here's the thing about Scandinavians, and I'll throw a New England accent in this. Scandinavians in their liquor. Some of it's nasty as shit. Some of it is the nastiest stuff. You've got your akavit, which can be good. You got your brennivin, which is Icelandic. I think it's made out of mashed potatoes. And then you got this. It's pronounced Malört, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's from Sweden. And it's apparently a tradition, an institution. Amy Core, who I used to work with at Adweek, wrote this one over on Muse by Cleo. I love that I can't even talk. I just love this one too. So how did a not safe for work campaign even end up on the table, Amy?
I mean, first of all, I mean, even Andrew, I love your campaign, and that idea is so cool. And Doug, great job at like selecting two kind of similar things, because I think Malört is to Chicago what Dunkin is to Massachusetts.
Such a great point. Yep.
Yep. It's a very regionally, I mean, obviously Dunkin is national, and I love Dunkin and whatever. We all love Dunkin. Malört is an actually just like Chicago staple. If you've lived in Chicago, if you've passed through Chicago, someone has dared you to take a shot of Malört. That's usually how it goes down. And it's always like the last drink of the night.
The last thing you remember.
Okay, now I'm done because I drank this. And I feel kind of like, I mean, this episode is all about like selling in challenging work. I actually feel a little bit like we just had an upper leg because like the clients just know what the product is to people. They're super aware. Like,
right. But here's what I'm going to say, Amy, is that, you know, you have very self-aware brands and you have very self-aware clients, but sometimes they munch around the edges. And specifically who I'm talking about here would be, what's the frickin' thing over in the UK that you either love it or you hate it? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like some rich
right out.
Yeah, exactly.
Marmite.
Yes.
Marmite. That's exactly right. So, you know, I think that there's a quality to this. I would say also one of the advantages of this, so similar to Massachusetts, where there's such an anchored cultural thing in the state, and in this case, the city, it feels like you have an advantage because number one, Chicago's funny. Right. Yeah. Actually, and New England's funny too, right? And so I think you have a little bit more latitude in doing something that's funny, like funny as opposed to humorous, right? So humorous can be like, oh, that's neat. Funny is like, oh, whoa, what is that? Right. And I think that Dunkin did that with that. It's like, okay, that was good. But I feel like that the Chicago thing probably gives you a little bit more latitude to be able to have that conversation with the client.
Oh yeah, the people of Chicago are unhinged in a beautiful way. But really, we were actually inspired by consumer behavior because people were doing this. They were talking about what it tastes like online. You know, it tastes like really random, crazy phrases that like are completely not safe for work. And so it was kind of just about like bottling that energy, pun intended, and then extending it in a way that could be both like, you know, big enough where it gets consumers who aren't currently aware of Malört looking at it, but also where you can activate it on premise, because that's obviously a huge deal for any booze brand, is like there's got to be something that the bars can do and that people can do at bars. So like it became this thing of like, okay, just have people kind of fill in the blank, and we will give them some thought starters. But if you can believe it, there were like actually more not safe for work ideas on the table than this one.
Yeah. So do you want to share?
I don't think I could.
Okay, no, that's fine. It's fine.
But round one, there were a few that were even wilder than this. But you know what? These clients were, they were pretty into this idea of like, hey, let's embrace how people talk about the brand.
Right.
And we're not fighting that at all. No. And like, that's like, if you have that as a starting point, I actually think we probably had an easier time selling this in than you guys did convincing Dunkin to rename a town and all the logistics that go around.
That's true. Good point. I do want to talk about objections, though. Were there any objections? What were the objections? And objections probably a little bit too intense of a word. Maybe it's pause, I think, because I think these are two obviously just such strong ideas that it would be less about objections and more like, okay, we see this. This is a great idea. Now, how do we do this? I'm curious, objections, sort of feedback on that end. That's a jump ball for all of you. Who wants to go first on that?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. And, Amy, it's really interesting because I just assumed it was going to be a harder sell for your team. But I think, what you reference, I completely agree with. I think the strength of the brand in both cases, it really makes all the difference here too, because for Dunkin, they have such a sense of humor. Like, Doug, I don't know that this idea would ever be pulled off by a Starbucks, right? Like based on.
Oh no, they're too. Yeah. Yeah.
So in that case, Dunkin, I think, immediately saw the appeal. They knew how big this could go. I mean, I don't know. Actually, I think all of us, this just really took off in such a way that we were just so excited by and beyond our wildest dreams. But so I don't know that there were necessarily objections. There was a lot of pacing involved and a lot of logistics, a lot of different people from, even just the town board navigating all of these different elements around. So I think that was just the trickiest part. And also knowing like you're working around a construction timeline at the end of the day as well.
Right.
So how does that all get paced out appropriately? That still keeps the story fresh.
Navigating a New England town council, Andrew.
Well, I think that like at any point, the idea could have died, or what it did is it just kept picking up momentum.
Oh, interesting.
The more you start sharing it and getting everybody else involved, it starts to, people start getting excited by the idea.
Right.
As opposed to, but as Eva said, they're, go in front of a town council.
Right.
First of all, getting them together, never mind. And then getting on an agenda.
Right.
Like if you're and one of those, it is right out of a sitcom. So.
It's like what? Yeah, right. I mean, if it were a Maine town council, they'd still be. Well, what are we gonna do? Well, we're just gonna talk about it. Let's go see what Susan Collins thinks. Like, okay.
But you have a great idea when it starts picking up its own steam. Like
that's true.
Jumps in and
I want to point out, Eva, as well that you're an SVP. You work in visibility, communications, public, public relations, however you want to call it. But I know that you came in early on this one, right? And so it's really, really important and to point out, especially to everybody, it's like whenever you can get your comms people involved early, not only will they have a little bit of a worldview as to where this is going to go. I've been in a lot of situations where the comms people have really, really very positively contributed to it getting to a stage where it's like, oh, we never thought of that. So this is just my point, saying just involve as many people as you can in the process when it's appropriate, because there's sometimes you do have to be a little bit secretive of things. You want to protect things, but when it's possible, just involve as many people as you can, especially your comms and PR folks. Amy.
Well, here's the cool thing about it, Doug, is it was originated by that team.
Yeah.
The PR team. So, that whole notion of creativity it's about creativity in public relations and communications and all that, not simply advertising.
Yep.
that it stretches. So
yeah, and kudos to you, Andrew, because you want to make sure you're empowering your entire team to know that they are part of the entire process. It's not,
and they're all creators.
Exactly. Yeah, it's PR 15 years ago, very different than today.
Oh my gosh. I was creative. It's not just a noun, it's an adjective.
Right.
Yeah. That way,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Amy, did you have any pushback, or was it just like, let's frickin' go?
There were definitely conversations around the language.
Can we say this?
And if you can believe it, some things did hit the cutting room floor. If you can believe there were things that were worse than what made it.
Oh no, I know.
So, and that's kind of just par for the course when you're working with a client, and even a client who's willing to buy this campaign.
Right.
They're not always going to buy every single idea that you have about it. But yeah, there's a spectrum. Let's put it that way. And I also want to say amen to bringing in PR early. It is a beautiful art, what you do. And I think the modern creative today is really learning how to like fold that point of view into the work that they're selling, because there just is there's regular media that's paid, but the ideas sometimes that you're putting forth, even this idea, it's like we have to have some sort of talkability here, or it's just not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, so exactly right. So Amy, on your side, because having come up as a copywriter and cut of a certain jib, I would have been in that meeting saying, no, we have to do this one that's super inappropriate, and here's why. How do you balance that with, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, yeah, like I get it. You want to say this thing that like no one should ever admit publicly. How do you balance, and how do you manage isn't the right word, but how do you have those conversations with creatives? Like, I hear you and it's awesome. However, we have to look at it this way. I'm curious about from your end, and it's more collaborative. It's not like tisk tisk. It's like, oh no, you're right. This is a great idea, but let's think about this. How do you work with creatives in that respect?
Well, I want to give a big shout out to Sam Carlin, account director on my team, who was doing the Lord's work on this one. He was way more in the trenches than I was, and having a lot of those conversations. But you got to kind of sometimes have that, like, okay, we lost this battle, but ultimately we're winning the war, and it's a beautiful, great idea that's going to make it out in the world. And like, I think what helps is sometimes talking internally about, okay, like what's the break point? Like, where does the idea not work anymore when we start to round out edges? Like where what's that agreed upon trench that we're just not going to cross together?
It's like that thing of a joke going, like, it's like, okay, it was funny the first 19 times. It's like okay, we can stop now.
Yeah.
So
the jokes are always funnier on the 20th time. Everyone knows that.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Here's what I'm curious. This would fall under the advice part of the show here. For an agency or a creative, in everyone's case here, agency leadership, for an agency that maybe really wants to get to that point where they feel real comfortable about pitching a bold idea and do it efficiently and effectively, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to an agency that is looking at going, oh my God, this idea would be so good, but we're not sure how to navigate the client on this? What's some pieces of advice that you would give to an indie that is in that boat right now? And Andrew, I want to start with you.
Yeah, Amy, you can actually build on this. It's because, the brands that you guys represent, the kind of work that you do is you kind of have to start with trust.
Yeah.
And really sort of build that relationship with the client, and start to build sort of like, here's why it's going to work. Like, understand, like, the outcomes, understand the audience, and get over the hurdle what, why you shouldn't do it, but focus on why you should do it in a way that, is going to drive the results and the effectiveness that you're looking for, and not create kind of the negative side of it.
Right.
And you can only do that with like really building that relationship with each other. And how do you start that relationship and know that it will work?
Yeah.
And so part of it's track record, part of it's, who else you've done it for.
True.
If you haven't done it for that client, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, it is, how do you build that trust?
Exactly. Amy, Andrew asked you to build on it, so please build.
Just because your work is definitely,
yeah,
we're out.
They come to you probably for that.
We're out. Well, it's a really good point, and I would say definitely the trust thing, like you said, but even going back one step, a huge thing that we scout for when we're talking to people is like, to clients, is like, what's your ambition? And
mm-hmm.
Everyone will always say, oh, we want to push the envelope, we want to do something different. But there's like, you got to kind of like get in and suss out, like, are they just saying that because they think you want to hear that? Or do they actually want to do work that's going to be interesting and different and unignorable, to borrow your word, Andrew? But I think, like, you got to ask a lot of questions up front to see what they're like. Why did you call us? Like, you're not calling Quality Meats to get like an SEO campaign, or like, maybe you are if you want like the wildest one ever. But like, what work do you like of ours? What work do you like of others? Give us some examples out of your category that's interesting to you. And like, I think then you can kind of start to find out like what people are interested in, and then build the trust from there. And then, there's lots of little tips and tricks to like getting to a good meeting that's like got some scary stuff.
Right.
And like making sure the clients kind of, their expectations are set for that.
Heads up, there's going to be some weird stuff coming.
Heads up, donkey dick is in the deck.
Right. Just so you're aware.
Yes. But like, and so I think it does start with like finding people who and knowing where they're coming from. Sometimes you also know, hey, no, they're not going to buy donkey dick. So don't, that's not the, you know what I mean? We're not putting donkey dick in. I've said it 3 times now. So someone should pay me $5, I think.
Oh, fine. Yeah. Give me your Venmo. Oh my God.
Yep. So I think it's just about, knowing what they want and why they came to you in the first place, and then build from there.
What you just said is like an insult in Southie. So it's, it all comes back around.
No, there was a bet that somebody said, how many times could you work that into?
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I played it like it was, and now I have to retroactively find somebody to pay you that.
Gordy.
Yeah. It's probably going to be Coop.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Excellent. And on that note, Ava, you got the last word on this. What advice?
Follow up that.
Yeah, how are you going to follow that up?
I mean, definitely grounding in your audience, I think, makes a huge difference. And in conversation that's happening, that was the upfront of the ideas that we shared. And I would also say, first of all, Doug, the acknowledgement of bringing PR in early, and as a driver of a lot of these ideas, I think is so key. And part of that is because at the end of the day, media relations is so central to what we do. And I would be remiss to not give a shout out to Matt Shearer, the reporter, who was a huge part of driving this, obviously from the very beginning. This would not have even existed without him. But, to have somebody who is as curious about his community, who's creative, and to not just be able to pitch him, hey, we want to do this, and do you want to be involved? But who you could really build the story with. That all goes into that trust factor, and allows the client to already, and automatically feel at ease with that story and say, yep, we're in good hands. We can trust what's going to come, and not need to over-engineer or micromanage this. And I think that makes all the difference. So building those relationships, including with the town, with the franchisees, like that is so key to bringing this magic to life with all of the different elements that went into it.
You brought up a really interesting, and I'm just gonna let this one kind of hang out there, is over-engineering. Very, very easy to do. Yep. And I think there's probably another show in that, and how to avoid. Well, no, it's the truth. Because I recall something I did 2015, I think it was, and it was for a huge brand, way over-engineered. I was trying to make fetch happen, for those of you who know what that means.
Oh, we get it.
Yeah, and it was exhausting, and it was stupid, and it was ridiculous, because you can over-engineer things too much, and it won't work. And it's pat and parcel of that. All right, listen, I've had you here all enough. I've had you here long enough. But hey, I love that you jumped in on this. Absolutely, kudos to all of you and your agencies for just keep doing great work. I mean, you just keep doing great work. So I'm going to put you backstage. Don't go away. This isn't a Zoom call, but thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Doug.
All righty. All right. Just a reminder to everybody here. It is less than a month to go. Weirdos, Misfits, and Underdogs, the Agency and People Award for the rest of us. You can just go to the homepage. You can see our jury presidents. If you would like to be on the jury, scroll on down. Oh, look, prepay. There's a pop-up. It's annoying. But you can save a lot of money. So there you go. You just start here. Just go. Oh, I got to take that out. I pay for the premium one. I don't need type form in there. But if you want to be on the jury, just get there. Again, to all of our members, thank you so much for supporting this mission. If you are not yet a member, please go to indieagency.news and learn more. On behalf of everybody at Indie Agency News, I'm Doug Zanger. We will see everybody next time.